Hello everyone, welcome to my another video of POE build showcase. Today I am showing my build in 3.28 Chaos Shock Nova of Procession Occultists. This build is very tanky, very fast, and has good damage, not crazy but good enough. The playstyle is simple, and it can do most of the content in-game with a decent budget, including end-game Uber bosses and highly juiced T17 maps with Delirium, like you see in the showcase. Let's look at this spell first. The Shock Nova of Procession is a new spell added to patch 3.28 which repeats multiple times when cast. It has a lower base damage and damage effectiveness, but has very high cast speed. So scaling cast speed is obviously the first thing we need to do. This build uses a Coiling Whisper ring to get a massive amount of cast speed through permanent 45 stacks of Soul Eater buff. Each stack of Soul Eaters gives you 5% cast speed. 45 stacks give a total of 225% cast speed, which is crazy. This ring gives you Soul Eater buff when the curse you apply reaches 90% of the duration expires. The setup is to link a level 1 and 0 quality temporal chain because the temporal chain has the lowest base duration. Link the curse with level 1 Hextouch, level 1 Swift Affliction, max level max quality of less duration support, and level 20 Lightning Warp. With this setup, your Lightning Warp will also benefit from the reduced duration modifier, making it a viable traveling skill. It applies temporal chains to enemies when you blink around, and your temporal chain will only last 0.98 seconds on enemy. You will receive Soul Eater buff automatically when you just blinking around as long as you don't kill the enemy in 1 second. This method is very reliable, consistent, and able to obtain the buff during boss fights as well. Normally, this will cost a 5 link to set it up. But with patch 3.28 there is a new thing called Imbued Gem, which can be linked with a random level 1 support gem by default. If you get a level 20 Lightning Warp imbued with level 1 Hextouch, then you can finish this setup in a 4-link slot, which is a massive quality of life improvement. You don't need to look for special rings that have reduced curse duration modifiers or allocate passive nodes on the tree. 1 ring slot, 4 links, then you are good to go. However, this setup has a downside which makes your curse no longer work on enemies, which means you cannot lower enemy resistance through curses anymore. This is a huge downside because most end-game bosses have a baseline of 50 lightning resistance. If there is no way to reduce enemy resistance, then it's a huge damage loss. There are multiple ways to solve this issue. For example, you can utilize mechanisms that reverse resistance or ignore resistance, such as the new supported gem, invert the rules, or unholy trinity. My method is to fully convert lightning damage to chaos damage. There are a lot of benefits for lightning converting to chaos. First, enemies have much lower chaos resistance than elemental resistance. Most regular and magic monsters do not have any chaos resistance, and unique bosses, Uber bosses, have a baseline of 30 chaos resistance instead of 50. Secondly, Wither is a much stronger debuff than Shock, providing 105 more damage with minimal investment. If you want to reach the same 105% on Shock, you would have to invest heavily into Shock effect, which in that case Archmage should be a better build than this one. Lastly, Chaos damage penetrates energy shields, which allows you to ignore a huge amount of hit pool of the enemy, making you effective damage higher than the number on the paper. It also can deal 10% more damage if the enemy has an energy shield, which is a permanent buff in this build. Not to mention it also ignores damage reflection, which is also good quality of life. How to convert lightning to chaos? It is very simple in 3.28. Lisha Bloodline Ascendancy provides 67% elemental to chaos convert ratio, and Foulborn Blue Nightmare Unique Jewel can easily give the rest 33%. However, obtaining Lisha Bloodline Ascendancy requires the killing of the final boss on the 4th floor of Forbidden Sanctum. This is probably one of the hardest Bloodline Ascendancy to get due to Sanctum requiring a whole different setup including the relics and knowledge. You might have a very strong build in maps, but you will still fail Sanctum very easily if you don't set it up properly. This makes the build not league start or early game friendly. You must have the ability to clear the Sanctum to get this build. With good relics and practice, it's doable. Looking for inspiration, gaining maximum resolve after killing a boss, or can look for one additional room on the relics. Use low-level Forbidden Tomb to make it easier. You can save the one that you got from leveling, but if you failed that one, then try to get as low as you can, aiming for at least lower than level 75. Another layer of damage scaling in this build is massive amounts of critical hit chance and crit multi. As occultists, we greatly benefit from power charges, so we aim to get as many as we can. In this build, we have 8 maximum power charges, which is pretty good. Power charges, intensify support, and the new overloaded intensify support, plus the staff-related passive points and unique staff Dusk Dawn provided a total of 95% plus crit chance and 600 plus crit multi. Completely solved the crit in this build. Unfortunately, we cannot get too much base damage on this build as we are not using Archmage nor Energy Blade. If you are willing to sacrifice a significant amount of defense, you can fit the Energy Blade into this build, which will give you a higher damage number in POB for sure. But in my opinion, it is not worth it. First, an Energy Blade setup without Battle Mage is such a shame that I feel a huge opportunity cost. You are literally losing the opportunity to double your damage. Personally, I feel if you want to play Energy Blade, you should go with an Inquisitor. Secondly, this build uses Intensify support to boost damage, which will massively reduce AoE scaling of the spell. The Shock Nova of Progression already has a built-in 30% less area of effect. With 4 stacks of Intensify, it will become very, very small and nearly impossible to do mapping without additional explosive mechanism. Not to mention, Shock Nova Progression greatly benefits from AoE due to the overlap effects. With those all added together, we are not doing Energy Blade in this build. On the other hand, with Occultist Ascendancy and Staff Cluster passive nodes can provide massive AoE so that the Shock Nova size is still big enough to map even with 4 stacks of Intensify. We have 2 6 links in this build because we are using a staff. The first 6 links go to our main damage spell, the Shock Nova. I link it with Greater Spell Echo, Intensify, Overloaded Intensify, Inspiration, and Arcane Surge. Greater Spell Echo is simply a must in this build because of how good it is for the new Shock Nova. It gains more damage per repeat, and the Shock Nova repeats itself by default. Too good to not use. The Overloaded Intensify plus unique Jewel Nadir mode can easily maintain all the buff without any effort. Normally, to maintain an Overloaded Intensify buff, you would have to move or blink constantly, which is a hassle. With this jewel, you can gain both buffs while standing still and just cast without moving. It's a huge QOF improvement and I highly recommend it. Inspiration is for the mana cost reduction to sustain such high cast speed. Making sure you have those mana mastery and non-channeling skills have reduced the mana cost modifier on your ring. Occasionally, you will run out of mana but will recover very fast by itself and even faster with mana flasks. The other 6 links are on the weapon. I used Animate Guardian with Raised Spectre, linked with Meat Shield, Minion Life, Elemental Army, and have 1 empty slot left for Sigil of Power. The reason I got my 6 link with Minion set up is to maximize the benefits from the Impenetrable Shrine belt. With this belt, we cannot use utility flasks, but we got double the energy shield, armor, and evasion. When using Raised Spectre with a perfect Guardian Turtle and perfect Prime Thunderbird, the armor and evasion granted by the minion aura will also be doubled, which provide an insane amount of survivability to both your character and the AG. AG can provide a lot of valuable buffs which can massively boost damage and survival. Gears used for AG depends on what you need. I used Kingsmaker, Lear Cast, Gruthkull's Pelt, Southbound, and Wake of Destruction for Shock Ground. You can adjust the gear depending on your budget and playstyle. Currently, my AG is pretty tanky and can survive for most of the maps. Sometimes it still dies, and I am still trying to figure out how to keep it alive. Maybe add more points to minion block chance? I don't know, I have to try more. Another set of skills are automation linked with Immortal Call, Convocation, and more duration support. The more duration support can change to cooldown support if budget allows. We have the Resonating Shrine Belt, which provides a large yet consistent source of endurance charge, making us greatly benefit from Immortal Call. Resonating Shrines have a 20% chance to grant you endurance charge when you hit, and with our Shock Nova at maximum Soul Eater buff can cast 25 times per second, and each cast hit enemy multiple times due to the repeat. It is very easy to regain the maximum endurance charges immediately after the Immortal Call consumes the charges, allowing both endurance charges and Immortal Call buff exist at the same time, making you extremely tanky. Last set 4 links are the auras: Wrath, Flesh and Stone, Discipline, and Clarity. We are using Runegraft of Treachery to gain mana reservation efficiency but also reflect auras to enemies. This allows us to reflect the Discipline aura to enemies so our enemy will always have an energy shield, which allows us to benefit from the 10% more damage from Chaos Mastery. Flesh and Stone will not reflect because it only affects self. The only reflection that benefits monsters is Wrath, which makes enemies deal more lightning damage. It is a downside, but with our tankiness, it is not enough to overcome the benefits. I kept one more slot from the unset ring to get Temporal Rift because this is one of my favorite skills in POE 2 Chronomancer. I think this spell is broken and highly underrated in POE 1. It only costs a very small amount of reservation and provides a huge buff that reset your HP/mana/ease to full. Not to mention it allows you to be immune to Temporal Chain and let debuff expire faster on you. This plus Vol Discipline provides an additional emergency panic button to recover from big hits as long as we don't get one shot. Very effective, and I just love this spell. Gear is simple. Besides the Coiling Whisper and Dusk Dawn, we use Dragon Fang of +3 level on Shock Nova skills. This one is cheap and provides a huge damage boost. The chest, helmet, gloves, and boots look for high ES attributes and resistance. We are going CI, so no need for chaos resistance. The boots look for a total chance to avoid shock at or over 100%, paired with Strom Shroud to get ailment immunity. The cost on this part depends on how high the roll you want. We are not able to use any utility flasks because of the Shrine Belt, so we are using life flasks to get immunity for bleeding and corrupted blood, and get some mana flasks just in case we run out of mana or run into mana siphoning monsters. You can gain bleeding immunity and corrupted blood immunity through ring and jewel corruption, but those are very expensive. Since we are not going to use flasks anyway, I decided to save the money. There is a hidden damage multiplier not showing in POB, which is AoE overlap. The new Shock Nova repeats and moves forward. The forward movement will stop when it reaches an edge or a wall. When this happens, all the repeats will occur at the same location where their movement got blocked, instead of keep moving forward. If you position the boss against the wall and you have enough AoE coverage, you are going to overlap multiple repeats of Shock Nova on the target, possibly making double or triple effective DPS. The DPS number after all the configuration in POB reaches to 50 million per second against level 84 bosses. The effective health pool is over 950k without Immortal Call buff checks, which is crazy tanky during combat when Immortal Call is up. I would say maybe it's too tanky and maybe it is better to remove some of the defense and get more damage, but I prefer a tanky build because of my playstyle. A tanky build allows me to learn mechanisms from the Uber boss and become a better player. Of course, no matter the damage or the EHP, this number can be further pushed if I reach level 100 and continue to improve my gear. I might be able to reach 1 million EHP without the Immortal Call. I spent a total of about 60 to 70 divines for this build, mainly because some of the items are a mandatory cost, such as Greater Spell Echo support and the Shrine Belt. Those two cost me about 35 divines. The rare gear pieces cost about 20 divines, and the rest are spent on gems, jewels, and tattoos. The roll on rare gears are just situational depending on your budget. I would say if you have a total budget of 100 divine, you can make this build very comfortable with high-end all T1 rolled gear and perfect corrupted jewels. Just try to avoid maps that prevent mon or regeneration for QOF and you will be fine. That's all I have for now, and I will continue to push this build to level 100 and see what we get later. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions or suggestions to the build, please leave a comment down below. I will answer all of them. Enjoy life and have a good one.